And welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Take TV podcast. My name's JD, and I'll be running the ropes today. Joining me, of course, is Enno and George. How are you boys doing today?
Good, JD, mate. How are you?
Yes, very well. Thank you very well. A lot to get through today. We've got injury updates, the shake-up at GWS, what's going on with the Dogs and their forward lines. Footies are falling behind me. Humpty Dumpty's doing some magic back there.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh, no, he's gone already. I would have pegged him for over 10 minutes. Poor Humpty. We'll go through trade-in targets on each line. Rookies traded in out. Buy talk, as always, at the moment. Captains, Q&A. And a bit of banter along the way. But before we get stuck into a very busy agenda, which we're going to say we'll try and do under an hour, we'll fail miserably at. Enno, we're going to start with one good thing, one bad thing from the weekend as I repair Humpty Dumpty and put all these pieces back together again.
Sticking it to Supercoach, the good thing was captaining Clary. I think it was really big positive for a lot of coaches this week that went with it. Sorry, George, to rub it in already, but I missed the Neil 190 at the start of the year. That was like a 80-point swing or something, or maybe 60. But it was a big swing this week. 178 with McRae going 104, and then most people's backup Neil going just a flat 100. That was a big positive. So I mean, I VC'd him because Bruce was out, but I was actually going to be straight captaining him anyway because I had no loophole until that point. So. That's the positive, and then another one is probably holding cogs, but we'll talk about that later. And then a negative for me is Rory Thompson going down. It's just really annoying. Just only needed him in 2 weeks' time in round 13 or 3 weeks' time, but we won't be getting him. He'll be out. So, that's probably the negative. What about you, George?
A good captain's pick from you is exactly what I expected. Number 4 overall in the world for EPL captains this season, on your way to finishing second in Australia, top 50 in the world as well from a 9 million person competition. So we're really podcasting with soccer royalty tonight, which probably doesn't matter to most of us, but it's not lost on me that the good captains runs carried over. We might be following your advice this week. It might be your new job. And then, Thompson, a big loss. I think all three of us had him, and he looked an absolute winner. 5 minutes into the game, was already on 30. And then, unfortunately, the rest is history. Pretty unlucky there, but not much you can do. Part of the game. George, you're positive, you're negative from the weekend just gone. And let's pick some different ones because we can't all cry over Thompson, I think, on the team.
My positive. Well, in real life, my positive is, half my family has COVID. I dodged it, which was great. No. As in, I dodged COVID. That's not positive. No.
George's family.
I dodged it. And then, anyway, last night I was sitting next to someone and they was telling me all about how they had like the super flu that's going around. I was like, oh crap, no, I dodged it again. So fingers crossed I'm all good. They said they recovered on Saturday, so whatever. See how we go there. But in Supercoach, positive, I had a good week. So I scored 2,452 into rank 6.9k. Probably trading Nick Martin. So I think a lot of people held him, got his, what did he score, like 40 something. So a little bit of a leg up on the competition there, but lost them all back by captaining Neil over Oliver. So positive is trading Nick Martin, and negative is R1. This needs to stop. I'm losing so many points with Gawn against Darcy now. We've seen his fixture after his bye, and also Witz, who has, he's playing a beanpole in the ruck again this week. So it's more just paying so much for Gawn and losing so many points at that slot. And it's also paying up for him has stopped me from doing an upgrade this week. So, the net loss on that is significant. And it's I've done a few bad trades, but this actually might hurt the most, I think. So hopefully he bounces back. But anyway, if you guys want to grab him, well, he's going to be sub 550 pretty soon if he's not already. So, hopefully Gawn can bounce back. And that's positive and negative. What about you, Jackson?
Oh, wow. I've got so many of both, I think. I mean, we can start with why there's a bed slats behind me, which was my kids spent all of Sunday night throwing up and like everything's had to be washed in the house. So that was like until 4 or 5 a.m. on Monday morning doing that. But if we bring it to Supercoach, I think a positive for the week would be the Bailey Smith trade-in, which Enno and I both got on board. So correctly predicted that he would play enough forward time, I think, over the next 2 weeks. And it's looking all but a guarantee at the moment that he'll do that. And it means we got him a really cheap price. So he went up 20K already this week, scored a 117, and he's got a 65 break even coming into West Coast this week. So love that trade in. Funnily enough, I was happy with my Wits vice captain right up until Oliver dunked to 180. But yeah, that's annoying. And then the downside, we've already talked about Thompson. I could talk about DeGoey for the fourth week in a row, but I mean, the real negative for the week, we all know what I'm going to say, right? It's Supercoach's system stripping me of Hayes 72, and then the devs didn't do something. Devs do something.
Oh, this guy's got no shame.
We are on a podcast. We have to check this 5 times. I check my emergency. I check before.
No. Hold on.
Times I check them.
I've got a family and stuff to do, right? Outside of this,
Okay,
we were all on that same podcast, and neither of you said anything, and no one that watched it said anything either. That's thousands of people that watched that, and no one picked up on it. So, you can say oh, you missed it, but so did everyone else. All right, now. Yeah. And for the people saying oh, you have no shame, tweeting, trying to get those points back. We spend hours of research to try and get small advantages. If I can tweet someone to get 72 points, I'm going to bloody try it. Was it successful? No. Do I look like an idiot? Yes, but I would try it again. God damn it. And if nothing else, I do think that the way that works does need to change because it's not intuitively designed at the moment. So regardless of whether I get the points back, it's something that
it should
be
say
on the to-do list.
You have 4 emergencies. Who do you want to get rid
one?
of?
Yeah, exactly. Something like that, or just overhaul the emergency system. And to be honest,
that's my one. Yeah,
there's a good chance that they maybe revisit this stuff. There was tons of really good super coach changes this year. I think the boosts have been overwhelming success. The adding in of the DPPs added new elements to the game and lots more excitement. I really like the changes they've made this year. So positive signs that maybe they could do that again in the future. But enough talking about me and my kids and my emergencies. Enno, why don't you kick us off with some injury updates from the week?
Just before I do that, I might give Darcy Cameron a quick mention. We're not going to talk about him at all, but I've got him 130. I'll just give him a shout out against the Shrek too. So maybe that should have been my positive. Anyway, injury update. So first man pertains a bit to you, JD. I think you held him. That's Lockie Whitfield. So he's going to undergo a fitness test ahead of this week. So we're really unsure there, but obviously you hope he'll get through that and play. Next is Bruce, who pretty much everyone has. He looks set to return after the illness that he was out with. And then another one, Tim Tarano, another Giants player. He looks to be out again. And I've actually seen somewhere it might even be multiple weeks. So they're unsure. It's a back. Those things can kind of be tricky to diagnose and give a time frame too. So I think if you have him, he's probably a trade, which is probably annoying. But if you didn't trade him last week already. Jordan Dawson, I saw this one a couple of hours ago and I was like, you're kidding me. Surely we won't miss him for this. But he burst his eardrum. I think it was during the game, someone said, but I don't know.
Clearance copped a whack or something to his ear.
Yeah, but apparently he'll be fine. He copped a whack and then, just a bit sore. So I don't think we have full confirmation he's playing, but I think Brody Smith said he's fine. So take his word for it. Rory Thompson, we've already been through that knee injury. It's not an ACL, which is good for him. It's a meniscus, which obviously doesn't have you out for as long, but it's still unfortunate for him. So hopefully he can get back before the end of the season. I don't think they have a time frame, so who knows? Hopefully we get him back if we need some cover late in the season for an injury or something.
You'd think they'd go the safe route given his history of knee problems as well. So that's the real concern, that it's probably unlikely to be the 4-weeker, probably more likely to be 8 to 12.
Yeah. They were liking George, weren't they? Really impressed with him. So I think they'd want him back. But
he's best 22.
Yep. And then some relevant ones, not always plays in our team or looking to get in, but Fife, it might be back in 1 or 2 weeks. So I think Peter Bell said a week or two, training well, and maybe they try and sneak him in before the bye, which they have the last bye, so they might be able to. But that could affect the likes of Brody and whatnot. So keep an eye for that one. Jordan Ridley's a test, so if you've still held on to him, just wait and see. Hopefully he gets through that. Jack Martin is also, I believe, a test, so that could affect. It could affect a number of players at Carlton, but more like Durden's role, Carroll's actual job security, so he could, maybe make way. hasn't been too impressive, and we really desperately need him in the buys. And then Motlop and stuff like that. We've got at the Dogs Tim English and Duray. So English isn't on. Neither of these guys are on the injury list as a test or anything, so they should be available. It just comes down to selection, which obviously English will get, but Duray maybe could affect Cleary and stuff like that. So he's there, and then Waitman's listed as a test, so that could affect all those forwards like Macomb's playing there, Buku's playing there. So keep an eye out for that as well. I think that's about everything, boys. Anything you want to discuss over those injuries, or?
The only thing I'll say is like the Taranto missing a second week is probably the most frustrating, because it's hard to know if Cogs is going to be a better long-term option than Butters, for example, just because we haven't seen both of them in the side. And I would also say like Taranto was probably not a top priority, especially with the DPP changes that we're going to get, but one that I was looking as a potential forward target, just given how cheap he is and the fact that he can go big. We're not going to get him in a role before we need to make those decisions, which is quite annoying. So I'd say that one's like really frustrating. And then Fife, wishing you good health. Hope you come back real quick, but need you.
I don't think you can be
to help
support
anymore, Brody's scoring. Yeah. I think so. I think that's what will happen.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So we kind of touched on a little bit with Taranto, but a lot happening at GWS with the mix-up with Essendon coaches, actually. McVeigh, James Hird, Essendon coaching box, which I must say, I'm wearing orange. I feel like I might be moving teams, especially if Hird gets a head coaching role. Jump off the sinking ship that is my rubbish Essendon team while I can. But George, I think you watched the game on the weekend, GWS, pretty closely as well, especially given Cogs went off, just balled out, reminded everyone of what his best can look like. What observations did you have from the game, and how do you feel about what you saw? Also, how good is Whitfield going to be this week when he returns?
They'll probably give him to after the bye. Why not? Extra week off, and you might as well just field SDK over Whitfield anyway if he plays. So probably has a better 5-round average. So a few takeaways from this game. So I guess Cogs, I was like a bit on the fence, trade or not, and then came around to the idea once I saw team sheets that I wanted to hold, because also have PTSD from trading players with a high ceiling, and I just remember how many times that I did that early in the season, and it burnt me so hard. So I didn't want to cop that again, given he was playing Eagles and new coach as well. I guess part of the reason why a few weeks ago, even though Cogs' role wasn't super great, we figured, like you said it yourself, JD, Leon is going to get sacked soon. And lo and behold, he did. So it was inevitable. So look, Cogs was good. He played midfield. There were times where he was a bit starting forward of the stoppage, like with stoppages around the ground, because he didn't get all the CBAs. He's got about 60% odd. So the role wasn't perfect, but it was still really, really good and the best it's been all year. So again, played West Coast. No Lockie Ash. Lockie Ash was named at halfback on the team sheets. And I know it's team sheets, not always 100%, but Cogs was named on ball. He wasn't named on ball in previous weeks, and that's what we saw. So see how Ash goes when he returns. Sounds like this week he'll be back. So I think they'll play him halfback. And what that also did is that put Ward, maybe, like, was Ward supposed to be at halfback? Was he just covering because maybe they were going to use Ash back there? Because, Callum Ward.
Whitfield.
Yeah, who knows with Whitfield? He could play forward of the ball or whatever, wherever. But, they sent Ward back. So he lost all his CBAs, which meant, more for Cogs and Josh Kelly. So when Ash comes back, do they put Ward back into the midfield? So there's a few things that we still need to wait and see on. So for me, I have Cogs and Butters. I think we all do. So and I guess one of them probably makes way for a Dogs. I think you guys actually have both this week, possibly. I think you guys are weighing that up. But that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm probably leaning towards trading Butters at the moment. But we'll just see how Cogs goes over the next few weeks. So it's very much not much you can do about it. If you traded him, well, it'll hurt in the short term, but in the long term, you might have a Dogs mid there anyway, so you might be okay there.
I love it. Like Butters 111 average over the last 2 weeks. I'm like, trade him out for sure. He's got Essendon this week too. He's going to have a ripper 3 average.
Honestly, it's a decent fixture. So the plan is probably trade Butters to a Dogs mid, just because of his floor is just very frustrating, and probably has worst durability of the lot. Although a lot of them have pretty spotty durability anyway up in the forward line. So lots to think about on that one. So with Cogs, I guess you just let it play out. Do you guys have any takes on Cogs? Like, I guess for me, it's a wait and see whether he's keeper or not. I think the chances he's keeper are much higher than they were last week. So, do you have any thoughts on just Cornelius' game? It was against West Coast, remember?
Yeah. I mean, it fell into place, didn't it? Really, the timing. Yeah. So, I know they're not going to. I mean, we're all going to sit. Everyone at Howard is going to sit and laugh at people that traded, but there was merit to it. Like big break even, and if you suspected or expected him, to be going from your side in 3-4 weeks anyway, then why hold? So yeah, we're going to laugh, but it had merit. But we needed that big score, that 140s, reset his break even, and then that allows us to get a look at Butters and Cogs for another 2 or 3 weeks. So that's really what we needed. It's 74 this week, and then if he goes all right, it'll be like very, very low, like could be 20 or 30 or something. So just buys us time, gets us to have a look at the role, because like you said, it's still not really set. No Ash, no Tarano. We don't know for sure. So yeah, gets another game or two to have a look. JD?
Yeah, no, I think that's all spot on for me. They have a much tougher matchup in Brisbane at the Gabba this week, so it's going to be a really good opportunity to actually watch how he plays there. And if he scores well again, then you're really confident that he's going to be probably top 6, especially given that North's the matchup after the bye. If he doesn't score well or just scores like a 90, it's like pretty hard to know like where he's going to end. So it's almost like you want a definitive sign one way or the other here on Cogs this week as to which direction you can take him in. It's a little bit the same with Butters. Like if they just keep scoring 95, you're going to be like, what do I do? Do I trade? Do I hold? But our test is going to come into it pretty heavily. So one of the players I'm prioritizing watching this week. Now, George, just going through kick-in data. Himmelberg is one of the ones that moved down back, and he actually took half the kick-ins this week. Is this the end of the coming Express?
Well, I think Asher's going to go back there, and I think Ward was back there. I honestly didn't pay attention to Himmelberg's kick-ins, but I think under the new coach, I'm not quite sure what Cummings' output is going to be. I think he's probably an avoid. He could be good, but yeah, just new coach, not exactly sure what happens down back. And there's just safe options left, right, and center down back. So there's no real reason to go for Isaac Cumming. But I really like him as a defender.
Yeah, it was his worst score for the year. And we've got Sinclair and Doherty that are going to probably be as cheap or cheaper coming off the same buy. So that's a dodge. And then just one last GWS question. I can see one of my favorites, Zachary Sproul, not only played his first game for the year, but had 24% CBAs, scored a 89 or a 91. It's just unfortunate that he's our team's almost finished. It's just like a mid-price I would have loved to have had at 293k, but probably not a viable option. You could always wait a week.
You want him at 290k?
Well, every other dumb pick's worked out. Why couldn't Zachary Sproul?
Very well. Can we touch on Harry Perryman? Harry Perryman was balling inside mid, so he was like getting it off the back of stoppage, a bit like George Hewitt does a lot. Again, bad opposition. What did he score? What was it, like a 130 or something?
138.
Yeah, he was playing really good. Has a bit of hamstring history last year. His was long, I think a few weeks, whereas like Sinclair's was like 1 week last year. So worth noting. But yeah, probably safer options, but just one to keep a close eye on, I guess. I think most of us have like 5 defenders by now, and probably grab one of Sinclair or Doc in the second buy round or something like that. So, but yeah, I just thought he played really, really well when his CBAs were, what was it, in the 50s, I want to say somewhere.
50s, yeah.
I think a lot of like Cogs was there as well. So in that range.
Cogs was 59, Perryman 51, Kelly 65, Green 57. Yeah. So those are the top 4. Yeah.
And Toby Green he started every quarter, I want to say, at a centre bounce, then went straight forward. So remember he was a centre bounce midfielder early days, but yeah, moving forward,
very
good
at it too. Very good at it too.
Yes. Okay. One more thing on Cogs before we move on. It's like against Brisbane this week, it's really the role we want to see. You got to remember Cogs is a guy that can butcher at the best of times. He went at 95%
91,
disposal
yeah.
efficiency on the weekend.
I
That
noticed
is
that during the
probably his
game.
best game ever.
I said in Discord, has he missed the target yet? It's
Like,
very
West
unlike
Coast,
Cogs.
but like
yeah.
90 plus for Cogs you never see that again.
He hit a nice kick inside 50, but I think it came off his shin. But we'll
all right, and then moving on to the Dogs, we mentioned this last week. Eno shared the numbers on Bot and Baz and what was required for them to kind of achieve DPP forward status, and it looks like they're both going to be locked in. So they're both up around 39%. They just need to be over 35%. Bryce Mitchell on Twitter calced it out again this week, and it was something like, as long as they have, I don't know, more than about. Yeah, it's like 5. Even if it was like 10%, it's fine. I mean, Bailey Smith, right? He, instead of going to the bench, he goes forward, and that's why he gets so much forward status. And then Bont, we've seen what a powerful weapon he is up front. There's no way they're going to run him 100% mid-time against West Coast. So these two are 100% going to get DPP this week. Like, it'd be crazy if either of them played 100% mid-time and didn't get it. Honestly, insane.
So the question is, if you had neither and you had to get one this week, or you wanted to get one this week, it doesn't mud your buys. Who do you go?
Let's throw in a third one there as well in English, because he's coming back 570k, so he's around the same price as the other two, and it was obviously a hot commodity earlier on in the season before the injury. So let's rank them, George. 1, 2, and 3.
You can't put English because he's skinny as hell right now. He needs to eat more.
Yeah, put him third, but like, we're gonna get asked about English, so like, this is third.
Okay, English is simply a wait and see. What no speaker English are we gonna get? I don't know. We'll find out in a few weeks. Okay, Bont or Baz? Well, Bont's obviously, you want Bont in your final team. He's easily going to be top 3 forward. His CBAs were 50%. Will that change when Bruce comes back? Possibly. I think Dunkley's the one that's been like playing deep forward, still pushing up the ground, but at times where he has to play, like a forward marking target. The CBAs are just a mess with the Dogs in terms of that. I think they're all getting sub 70% at the moment. They're just sharing it pretty evenly. I think Libba was the most with 60. So it's quite hard for them to just go on a complete tear. Remember Bont last year when we didn't have him? Did you have him, JD? I can't remember. I didn't have him anyway. He went that run of 140 for about, 2 month stretch or something like that. It's hard to see that happening.
Dunkley to him.
With 50% CBAs the past 2 weeks, I think it's hard to see that happening. Look, this week, don't get me wrong, it could be a bloodbath this week. Baz seems like the one that will, I said in the Discord this week, the Eagles mids are going to pull hamstrings trying to chase Baz around. So I think for me, Bont or Baz, I don't know, what do they go? Probably say Baz between 107 and 112. And then Bont between 112 and 117, I want to say, for the rest of the year. So I think I like Bont a bit more. I like Baz too. You got to remember his disposals kind of killed him a lot. I think it's been a bit better the past 2 weeks, but for a while there, it wasn't great. It was very good a few years ago, but this year hasn't been great. So I would want, if I could only get a forward Baz, I'd have no issue with that, but I'd probably go for Marcus first.
The only thing I'll say about Bontempelli is his track record against the Eagles last year was amazing. So he kicked 3 goals in both games. In round 2, he went 145. In round 15, he went 156. I think it was the round 2 game that was close, like they won by 7 points or whatever. And Bont was best on ground. It was like 30 touches.
I think
3
both
goals.
he was.
Remember,
the one at Optus, he kicked that goal from the pocket, and I was like, "Oh my god, that one bursting through."
Yeah, and then the other game, like he was best on in both those games. So like he killed West Coast, and then West Coast was better last year than what they were this year, which probably goes against him a little bit. Because even Bailey Smith, even though his role wasn't as good last year, he still scored like a 126 in that second game. English turned up, McRae turned up. So like McRae has a really good record against him as well. Like Dogs and Dunkley went big last year. I mean, load up on Dogs versus West Coast. That's all I can say. But like Bont does have the really good record against him. So 30 and 29 touches, 3 goals in each of those games. But Bailey Smith, the outside running plays just seem to be the ones that have really killed them on scorings this year, which would point at like Bailey Smith being the one that should have really good avenues to dominate.
Yep. I mean, it comes down to price, obviously, and who you think is going to rise more before you want to get the other one after the buy. So
if you get the other one, that's the thing.
If
so
you can.
If you could only have one, I can see the safety in Bont just because he's done it before. If you're planning to get both, then Bailey Smith now, just because he's got the better break even.
I think I agree with that. Yep.
I'll probably only get one, and I think it'll be Marcus.
Yeah, it has to be Bont then. Yeah, really. If
there's not really. I don't think there's that much in it. I mean, for fantasy, it's not even close. It's Baz by a mile, but Supercoach, like Bont had 3 goals too against Gold Coast, and like Took and Rao didn't touch the ball. They had to put Swallow in the middle for a while, and scored 130 with 3 goals too. So there's just so much of the pill to go around. So Treloar's getting more CBAs than last year. Dunks missed a lot of last year, and he was out of form. So, I think they all average probably within, 20 points within each other, all the Dogs mids. So, I don't see like 130, 120 from any of them. Maybe McRae, that's it.
Only way it happens is an injury, really, like last year. So,
yes, that would be
nothing you can predict.
If like Treloar or Libby go down, all of a sudden everyone's CBA's got by like 10 to 12.
Even if just any of the ones, even the ones we own do, you have to make a side swap to the ones that...
To the other one, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So to summarize so far, wait and see on the GWS players. Wouldn't be trading any of them in or out for now. Just wait and see unless... I mean, you've got Taranto and Whitfield and they missed this week. You can probably move them on. But otherwise, wait and see. On the Dogs, we've got them ranked. If you just had to pick one this week, it would be Bont over Baz over English. If you're planning to get both Bont and Baz eventually, then probably start with Baz this week, just for money reasons. All right, let's move on to some of the other options and some of the other lines then. We're going to kick off with defenders. Who wants to take it from the top? George, Enno, who's got some love for the guys that holding it down back?
I mean, there's so many guys we could talk about.
Well, let's talk about 3 ones that look like they're all going to be top 6 or thereabout and all represent probably some value at their price. I mean, they're not like a Sicily or Stewart up around the 600k range. So Sinclair, Doherty, and Crisp. If you were looking to trade in, I guess, one of these, who would you be prioritizing? And I know there's probably a little bit of difference with buys here. But let's walk through the process of which one of these would be your target.
I brought this up because Enno needs a 5th defender, and he doesn't want Crisp.
A 5th?
I know.
6th. Last
6th
last defender.
So, basically, I didn't include any middle buy defenders because I think everyone's bringing in middle buy players elsewhere at the moment.
So this is an intervention for Enno, and he doesn't even realize it.
Yes.
Yep.
So Doherty, start off with Doherty versus Sinclair. It's hard to not have a bit of recency bias here just because Sinclair went off and Doherty copped a bit of a knock as well. I would say, without looking at it, I think Doherty got a bit more kickouts, probably because no Zach Williams. He's out for 2 to 3 months with
longer, like another 8 or 9 weeks. I think they had him listed.
So I saw Sard was running off the back of the square a fair bit, where I usually see Doherty do it. He did it as well, but I thought usually Doherty does it a bit more. Could be wrong there, but Doherty looks fine. I guess for me, I probably lean towards Sinclair. I know Doherty has the history, but I do worry about Doherty possibly slowing down. I want to say his first 5 weeks were a bit better than his last 5. That being said, Doherty's still fine. I wouldn't have any issues if he was in my team. He probably has the higher ceiling. I don't think Sinclair can be a top 4 defender, whereas I think Doherty can. Just slightly worried about if Doc slows down or not, because he's gone missing for patches here and there the last few weeks. I think against Port, he was on about 30 somewhere in the third quarter. Then he finished on like 100 or something. So does have his flat patches, but has his rockets up as well. So I'm not too fussed. Wouldn't be upset with either. I probably lean towards Sinclair, but I think if Doc does well and Sinclair does poor this week, I'll probably might say Doc if he looks incredible. So not too sure, but at this stage, I'm probably planning for Sinclair over Doherty. What's your take on this, Anna?
Yeah, it probably is recency, but we always had a bit of a concern with Doc. just his durability to the end of the year. So that's got to like still be in the back of your mind. You know, there's no worries of that with Sinclair. Although you can tell me his injury history, isn't it? One hamstring 3 years ago or something.
Last year around, I want to say 18, 1 week hammy.
Okay.
But before
okay.
he's
So
played,
it's fairly recent.
played 22 games a few times.
Yep. But now with, I mean, the Saints, obviously they lost Jack Steele, but they're getting a lot of their players back, and a few of those ones being midfielders like your Zach Jones, and I think Hunter Clark's not far away. So we've seen that in the last, it's almost 2 months really. Sinclair is just set down back now. He's taken all the kickouts. There hasn't really been any weeks where he's getting CBAs anymore like he was earlier. So I think his role's completely set. And even if he did, it's not like it's a big worry, but I would prefer him down back getting all the cheap pill that he does, but he does use it very well. So yeah, he's got the monotony on the kickouts. I just feel a lot safer with him than Doherty, just maybe because of the older age of Doherty, even though he's not that, like he's not super old, but he has
His body's been through a lot.
footy here and there. Yeah. So that just always sits in the back of your mind. Whereas Sinclair, who is actually older than I still couldn't believe how old he was at the start of the year when I found out. But he, I just feel a lot safer with him. But the issue is with that big score, he's going to be a lot more expensive after his bye than Doherty will be. So you've got to factor that in as well. Will you be able to say he tons up a couple of weeks? Will you be able to afford him at what'll be maybe 560s, something like that. So maybe that factors in, whereas Doherty's probably going the other way. So
if Sinclair goes 100, he goes up to 545.
Okay, so it's not terrible, but it is sort of a 20k jump. But yeah, if we're picking one, I'm picking Sinclair at this point, and it's probably my big target after his bye, number one.
Are you looking for a sixth defender, JD? And if so, is it one of these two?
So I am not, but I've got Whitfield at D6. So it's someone that I probably would luxury upgrade. If I'd already traded him out this week and I'd still held Dacos, which is probably going to have been the better move in hindsight, especially if Whitfield misses, then I would probably be targeting Sinclair of the three after their bye. I think there's more points to go around and probably more time on him up on the ball if with Steele out. So yeah, I'd be. I think
they want him back.
Yeah. Play around the ball.
Yeah, you're right. I just think like they move him up and get the ball in his hands more with someone like Steele out. Like they need his leadership and his decision making, so they'll put him in more important positions. Not that they don't already. I just feel like there's going to be a little point. Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a points boost. Probably also makes him more taggable. But yeah,
that's a good point.
Tagging halfbacks
maybe
doesn't really happen. Yeah, and then Crisp. I don't know. Like I maybe it doesn't work with your last buy, but Crisp is the one that probably does make sense. He's one of the top-rated midfielders in the AFL, which I find hard to believe, but that's what the stats say. And
number one, by the way,
number one on this year's form.
Possibly Oliver
player ratings.
He's definitely top two. The AFL player ratings. It's
I mean that fails the eye test if Crisp is number one ahead of like Oliver, Neil, like a couple of those guys this year. But it does go to show that he's up around that mark, even if he's not number one or two. We know inside mids score really well down back, and with his durability, it feels super hard to go past him. Maybe he doesn't have the absolute upside and ceiling that some of the other two do, but in terms of consistently, I mean, Crisp has even converted me. Sure, I can't watch him play, and I'm still repulsed by the pick, but logically,
he's
I
good.
think he's the one of the three that
you are.
Pick.
Stop denying he's good. Like I was not a believer, now I am.
He's actually well and truly surprised me, and I don't talk shit about him anymore as much as I really hated how he played the first couple of weeks.
16 contested on the weekend of 74 TOG, and he usually has 90 TOG because of
he's gone past Adams.
So his career best, and he's 105.
He had a slow start. Okay, he will outscore Doherty and Sinclair for the rest of the year. Bet.
His 5-round average is 106. It's the same.
Flu game would have been extra 10 points this week.
The last time he went under 100 was in round 3.
He's just so safe and so durable.
Go big.
Well, he's gone 130, 120, but then lots of low tons as well.
But
I don't know. I think he's still got North
Sinclair
as well on the
has
back end.
610 plus games. I'll have either one of these guys for 10 weeks. I think Sinclair has just more upside to average more.
Fair enough.
That's what I think. Collingwood's midfield is like Crisp has got to carry him. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's the guy you want carrying it, I don't know. Whereas Sinclair,
He's not that bad. He's
safe
good.
role.
He's good.
Yeah. He's shit. Anyway,
He's good. I disagree, but
he has been much better than what I expected. All right, so
yeah. Well, the bar wasn't high.
Just quickly, because we are going to run short on time as always. Just quickly, Dawson obviously had another big week at 560k. Is he someone that you'd still recommend people trade in?
Hell yes. That man
it's been done to
king.
death. Yeah, King of the Crom. Plays North and West Coast twice for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so good fixture.
He's a left footer that can actually kick a drop punt. So
you have lost some of the value, but he's like a 123 average over the last 3, 110 over the last 5. Still a good option if someone with that buy suits.
And that's 3 rounds ago. So that's with the role change, like 50% wing.
Yeah, and I think the quote out of him was like, "Where's he going to play?" And it was like, "We're just going to put him in the position where we think he can do the most damage." So they recognize that he is an important part of them winning. And yes, the role uncertainty is not great and something I would traditionally avoid. But the only reason it's uncertain isn't to fix a gap, which is what someone like Houston normally struggles with. It's to win them the game. They want him there because they're going to have the most damage. That's a very different mindset and methodology you don't normally see. So, I think that's still a good option.
Well, just quickly, the Crows have to leave him forward of the ball because our midfielders cannot kick inside 50 at all.
So Keys has regressed. Laird's never been the best.
He scored better in the back half last game.
Yeah.
Played second half and defense, so he can score on both posies.
Okay. Rob, Matt Crouch, Schoenberg all put up massive numbers this week. They absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rob's got 250 so good.
Supercoach.
all in the twos, but yeah, I mean that was amazing midfield start, like round 1 starting midfield. They're killing it in the twos. All right, mids. Let's jump into them.
Dawson gets West Coast in 2 weeks. I just want to say that that's like if he plays forward of the ball there, that's where his big game's coming. So
yeah,
this week against the Cats though at Cardinia, I want him back.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the mids then. Looking at the first buy, there's a few options here we can quickly talk over. So you've got a couple of Blues in Cripps and Walsh. You've got a couple of Bombers in Parrish and Merritt. Any of these 4 that you like the look of as either a trade in this week or after the first buy?
I'll start. Cripps is not happy. It's maybe it's a combination of slight form drop and ruck time. I think, is it Mackay that was doing the relief work when Pitney went down? And now they're asking Cripps to do it, I think. So I don't love it. I don't know, he's less prominent. What do you get? 19 disposals, got a pretty lucky intercept, got a goal that got gifted to him pretty easily. That got fed out to him. So without those 2, he's probably dropping a 60. So 2 weeks ago, clear best player in the comp. Oliver's taken over from him now, but just because it's Cripps, I'm a little worried. Do you have any? I mean, I don't think it's enough to warrant a trade, but it's just keeping an eye on him. JD, are you slightly worried on Cripps?
I am slightly worried on Cripps. I mean, like the types of issues he's had in the past, you would imagine could pop up as well over the course of a season. So despite they have not saying anything, I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting to have some issues and some soreness, in which case the buy and having a week off might be really, really good for him. We see some form back. But if he's has a couple more weeks of 80s and still not looking good after his buy round, it could end up being a luxury upgrade, which is sad to say.
One's 80 break even. Oh my god.
The only other thing as well is I wonder with is we haven't seen much of all of the Carlton mids play together. So Cripps, Chera, Kennedy, Hewitt, Walsh. And even though they've had games Walsh has been coming back off his injury or whatever it may be, someone's coming back from a week off. I just wonder with all of them coming together, if you are going to see some inconsistency in these players outside of Hewitt, who's obviously a god, where they just like have some weeks where they're good, some weeks where they're bad, and it's just because there's so much talent in the midfield.
Walsh has picked up the last few weeks, where Cripps has dropped off. Don't know if it's I'm not sure.
Sammy, he had the Cinders. He's worked into the season. He's by far the better player, and he's back to number 1. So,
all right, can I throw in a smoky? Actually, no. Sorry, let's go through the Bombers players. So, we're still on Cripps. I'm trying to jump ahead. We're trying to run quick on time. So, Cripps, a little bit of worry. Obviously, don't trade him in. Wait and see. Maybe a luxury upgrade after his bye if he doesn't pick up. Walsh, love the option, right? Everyone's on board with Walsh.
Yeah.
CBA, worth noting, CBA's, I think his forward time was about 50%.
Is this Cripps?
Walsh, but you got to remember that's Walsh, starting positions after stoppages were 50% of the time he was forward. But he's still, the time and ground's really high. He's still pushing up. He just starts forward and runs into the midfield. So, and he's still, I think he's a top 10 midfielder still, even with the slow start with the off the syndesmosis. He is the player I want at M8.
So just quickly then, like say you were tossing up Mills, Laird, Walsh, buys money weren't a consideration. Would you have Walsh over either of Mills or Laird?
Probably not.
Okay. Cool.
It'd be close.
Mills I could get at the right price. Who was taken out of the midfield for some reason against Carlton because they were getting smacked in the midfield so badly.
Yeah.
But still, outside games too good.
Yeah, it's good that you bring up the CBAs because Cripps is still leading Blues like 87 last 2 weeks. Walsh has dropped down to 23 and 39% over the last 2 weeks. So it could just be outliers we see in scoring and things regress. But yep, good to know. All right, moving on to the Essendon Mids who have been smashed again in the media for about the 17th week in a row. Parrish, he had 40 touches, but didn't, score particularly well. What was it, a 128? He's got a 5-round average of 124, which would surprise a lot of people with how well he's been scoring. 620k, and then Zach Merritt, who's obviously returned a little bit slower after the syndesmosis. He's down at 530k with a 154 break even, so still got some money to lose. He had a 57 last week, but apart from that, I think scored hundreds in every other game he's played this year. Do you like either of these options coming off the bye? Would you consider them in? Just from what you said before, George, I would imagine you have Parrish below Laird, Mills, and Walsh.
Do they let Parrish play the way he plays at Essendon?
Yes. What do you mean? Do they let him? Yes.
He's getting so many junk possessions though. Do they change anything, or they just let him do that?
Everyone gets junk possessions at Essendon because there's no one to kick to in our forward line. Did you have a look at the names in our forward line last week?
Was it Hobbs?
Let me bring them up.
He's never been that guy though. Really,
he was more damaging last year, but he was also kicking to Stringer and Snelling.
He's a gun clearance player, which doesn't help. It's just your 2-point handballs, maybe 3 if it's contested. So
all right, here we go. Our forward line. So Peter Wright been great this year, easily our best. Other named players: Alec Waterman, Devon Smith, Aaron Francis, and then Hobbs. Do we even have another forward? Oh, we had Nick Bryan, who's a ruck.
Merritt's the one that kicks it right to them. He's the guy that
Merritt's the better inside 50 kick for sure of the two of them. And look, since Parrish has been flamed for not having effective disposals, he's definitely been putting in more of a conscious effort to kick long and do that.
It's effective in a different way. That's what it is. It's still effective, but
I mean, he had 19 contested possessions, from his 43 touches and 19 kicks in that. So, but I mean, that forward line you're kicking to is rubbish. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of players that appear to have junk possessions when there's just no one good to kick it to.
I don't know. It's hard. I think he's a great scorer, but I don't know if I want him in my team, which doesn't make much sense. So I would just rather other players. I think he had a bit of a flat patch towards the end of last year. Another thing is I don't think teams will bother to tag him.
No.
Or maybe. I'm not sure.
If we start winning, we'd have to turn it
because
around.
They'd have to be good.
Okay, so last year he went 122. First 2 rounds, take him out because he played half forward. And then he went 122 for the rest of the year, had those huge games. And he also got tagged a few times in between there. So really, he probably could have gone almost 125, pushing 130 without the tag games. So it should be a good pick, but I don't know what it is. I just don't feel fully comfortable picking him.
Because Essendon's bad. Like,
Yeah.
he's not
I
like a
think he's-
Mills or an Oliver or a Neil that are playing for these good teams.
If
And that
I-
always worries
yeah.
you picking like good players and bad teams. Like, it just outside of like Ablett and a couple of other players, it's really hard to make that work.
I wouldn't be upset if I had Parrish in my team, but
No, he's
I think
been
he's
a
fine
good
option.
pick.
Yeah.
So this is the crazy thing. He's been a better pick than Took Miller and Jack Steele this year. And he was cheaper than them. But no one gets excited about him. 5-round average 124, no one's excited about him. The only other thing I'll say as well is like coming back post our bye, like we should have Langford, Ridley, Snelling, Stringer all back in. These are like 4 pretty big ins for Essendon as a team. Maybe you start to see form turn around, or at least them be a little bit more competitive, which kind of makes them slightly better prospects. So it's still a bit of hopium going on there. But maybe just shifting that into the next conversation. So Merritt is going to be very cheap. Do you like him as a discounted mid option? Say he's 500k after his buy.
I think it's fine if you're really struggling for cash. I just don't want no part of it.
What's
enough.
the CBAs? Have you seen the CBAs the past 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Merritt, they've been down, right? So he's done a bit of the Walsh. He's gone from the mid 70s down to 26 and 36% over the last 2.
Do you know why that is?
I've been
Feeling
watching
chill.
Essendon games through my hands like this, so I haven't caught a lot of it.
Well,
He's always going to find the ball though wherever he plays. I think Merritt.
he scored okay without CBAs in the past.
Yeah.
I think he started off a wing at times. I didn't see the game. I was watching the other game. Did he start off a wing this game?
Let me see if I can get stats on that as we go.
Okay, so look,
He's still averaging career high 31 touches a game.
yeah,
currently.
he's scoring okay. He's one that I'll bring in other format in fantasy when he's discounted. After his buy, should be pretty cheap. I just think, I mean, for me, I have enough cash gen. I have lowest trades. I want someone that's going to be top
Locked
10.
in. Yeah.
So I know that Walsh, he's going 115 already, something like that. Fully expect him to go do that for the rest of the year. And that's with his slow start. And he's still scoring well without the CBAs. So he just runs up to the middle. And, that's some of the dogs, they're all getting CBAs 50 to 60 or 50 to 65. So, and they're still scoring well enough. So I'd probably lean towards Walsh.
We have to put Merritt versus Tom Mitchell, don't we? Jeremy?
Yes, that's where I was going to transition to the last discounted mid, and he benefits of being of a different buy compared to the other ones we've talked about, the last buy. So he's now at 498k, 125 break even. So you might actually get another week to look at him. But people got to remember, Tom Mitchell was number 1 Supercoach option, I think, for at least 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the 1 year before the leg break, his Brownlow year. But yeah, he was sick, scored a 40, then had a week off. Sammy Mitchell said that they were going to play him in the midfield. And to be honest, I don't think his CBAs were particularly high.
49.
Yeah, so not particularly high. It's about in line with his other weeks. But he obviously had a pretty big game, scored a 129, looked really good in the midfield alongside Newcomb. Is Tom Mitchell someone let's put aside the fact that like George and might have enough cash gen. You don't need to look at a discounted option. If you weren't in that position and you did want to bring in someone at 500k, Tom Mitchell versus Merritt, who would you prefer at the moment? I think, by the way, the reality is you can probably wait on both of these a week. Mitchell's break even's 125. Merritt's about to go into the buy, so you can probably wait and then make this decision next week. But yeah, you going to show love for either of these boys?
Yeah, I think they're okay discounted options. I think because the coaches indicated they're going to play midfield, I don't know how long. And you got to remember that he started the year with 380s and he was coming off a groin issue. So his last few scores, so say from round 4 onwards, I know cherry picking here, but 119, 142, 105, just a 78 against the Demons, 40 in the game he was sick, and then 129. So you take out the 40, you can't really take out the 380s, but he was struggling for a bit off the groin. He's still averaging okay. So I think it's a decent shout to go Tom Mitchell because he was everywhere. And if they want to win games, I think he's still their best option in the midfield. Although Newcomb's been fantastic. So he can still score. Like, what's he going to go? Like, at worst, he goes, 100? And they don't give him enough CBAs, or they play him a bit more forward instead of pushing him up the ground more. So I think it's like not the worst for the price with, much more upside. So like worst disaster case I see is like 100, even 105.
Yep. All right. I'm going to throw in one left field option here to close us out. He has, I think he's at 520K, has the first buy, 530K. His name is like Supercoach Fantasy Royalty, of course. And he's averaged 126 over the last 3. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, no. You're going to say it, aren't you?
Brad Crouch. Ever since the steal has gone down, Brad Crouch has emerged as a powerhouse over the last 3 weeks. Comes into North this week. Would you go left field on a Brad Crouch? I'm going to hear no's. It's very disappointing for the viewers.
It probably had to be a week or 2 ago, right? Like a week or 2 ago when you like realized that and got him at like, what would he been then? Like
40K cheaper, so 480 or something.
Yeah. I'll pay homage to him. I had him in 2019, started him at like 400, and I had him for 22 rounds in like one of my best years. So respect him. That was 3 years ago, but he's in good form. Can't deny it, but I'm not touching it, man.
Yeah, and he's going to be more expensive, like much more expensive than Merritt after the same first buy, and you probably lean Merritt just based on history, right? So anyway, that's a shout out. We see you, Matty Crouch. We see you.
Brad.
All right, moving on to the forwards here, and obviously there's not much discussion of trade-in targets because if you wanted to trade in dogs for your forward line, you'd be getting Bont and Baz in your midfield. Instead, I see names here that can only mean trade-out targets, and I'm really glad that one of them is on this list because when the kids were throwing up over the mattresses and whatnot, all through the early hours of Monday morning, I was up watching the Spanish Grand Prix, and I cannot help but remember someone talking about F1. And boy, how the mighty have fallen from the F1 position because there are 3 players that could be keepers and they could be trade outs. And those are Butters, Cogs, and Mr. F1 himself, Isaac Heaney. George, I want to start with you. Because I think you added the 3. What's your piece? What are you weighing up between these ones? Who do you think you're going to keep? Who do you think you're going to trade? And what's your approach over the coming weeks?
Should we add Doherty as the 4th one?
Hey, no, that's not fair because Doherty is a guaranteed trade out. But after just before his buy, he's so far gone. I cannot wait to see the back end of him. That's not even fair. But yeah. But these other 3 players are actually competent and like probably not terrible people. So yeah, let's talk about them.
I will not trade Isaac. I believe he will be fine. He was good in the midfield. He got robbed of 2 goals.
You know what? I thought
and he's been
I thought Danny Ricciardo would be fine, and he's down at P14, P15 every week, and I think he's got the same fate written all over him.
Must be an F1 thing. Okay, by the way, I don't understand F1. I don't understand F1 terminology, but look, okay, so Heaney's 5-run average 89, not great, been very inaccurate. Moved into the midfield. He's one you don't move on now. I guess later on when you bring in the dogs. If he's your worst one, then I still think at worst he's like F9. So, obviously Bont and Baz coming in has just like I thought I had a finished forward line, apparently not now. So keep an eye on Isaac. He does struggle at times to get his hand on the ball. If he's hands on the ball, you see it's annoying. You see Parker and Mills just get the cheapies. They do the hard stuff as well, but they are the cheapies as well. Heaney just doesn't go into open space enough. He just runs up and down the ground, quite often in contested situations. So does get a few marks here and there, but not as many as the others. So look, I'm not interested in trading Heaney. Butters has quite a poor floor. And for me, I look at, fundamentally the best picks in Supercoach are in, I don't know, say 22, 23 to 28 sort of age bracket, full preseason. Durable history, understand Cogs, Butters, Heaney all have really dodgy injury history. None soft tissue, which is good. But, Butters is the younger one. less pre-seasons. Game style was pretty reckless, although I haven't watched him the last 2 weeks, to be honest. So, no, I watched him the week before. I didn't watch him this week. So for me, probably Butters, I think at this point is the weakest. Cogs obviously looked great in the midfield, but we've spoken about GWS. There were he's not going to average 140 or anything like that. Obviously, he's not going to do that every week, but not going to play West Coast every week. So, and we'll see when their players come back. So for me, it's just a wait and see on all three. At this stage, Heaney and Cogs are for me a bit ahead of Butters, but yeah, can't fault Butters. And his ceiling, Butters can go 150. We know that. So, whoever you trade out can quite easily put a 150 on you. So, but again, then you have Boz or Bont or Baz or both, so you wouldn't be too upset. So I guess it's just a wait and see. I mean, I've said all these things, but it's just wait another 2 or 3 weeks, I guess.
Yep. Just to echo that, like Butters has got a 33 break even coming into Essendon. Cogs has got a 74 break even into Brisbane Lions, but that should get even cheap or like better the next couple of weeks with the 37 rolling off and the 140 staying in the system. So ideally hold all these guys, wait and see. If you've got someone like Nick Martin in the forward line, that's who you're trading out this week instead.
Yep. I don't really need to say much more than we probably think it's Cogs a hold over Butters. And then this week, Butters will drop a 150 on Essendon and Cogs will drop an 80 and we'll probably flip our minds. So look forward to that coming out of their bye and not knowing who the hell it is.
Yep. And then I think Cogs is north out of the bye or something. So anyway,
So with Port's midfield, like their CBAs are going all over the place. Like Wines was like 50%. Then he went up to 80%.
Rosie, the North game, they just did whatever.
Yeah.
But
just tinkly trolling in the
Wines
box.
is like forward taking contested marks, kicking goals. Like I think it was just whatever. But yeah.
But yeah, Rosie, Rosie, yeah, so like they were using him a bit more. So it's like, is Butters gonna get shafted 1 week? I don't know. It's again, Cogs could be in a similar boat as well, but given his performance, you would think that he stays there. So again, I just wait and see.
All right, so we already mentioned trade out one in Nick Martin, 116 break even, looks to have hit a little bit of a wall. We've got some intel that he is should be traded out this week, is all I'll say. And then on
what are you talking about?
I leaked this in Discord chat. I'll ping it. I'll ping it to you later. Let's just say there's some helpful people in Discord that knows things.
Okay, well, join the Discord if you want to find out, I guess.
And then
good plug.
Good plug. Accidental plug. I didn't ask the person who shared the info if I could share it more broadly. So I don't want to do it, but just say we have on good authority that there's reasons outside of poor scores that you want to trade Nick Martin this week.
It's the 116.
Nothing.
That's the
nothing.
secret.
Yeah, nothing nefarious. So nothing nefarious. We love Nick Martin. And then Dacos will be the other one. So similarly priced, 88 break even. I think he obviously scored a little bit better on the weekend, although I thought there was a fair bit of junk in getting that score. It didn't look like he was particularly impactful. But the one thing to consider with Dacos is that his bye and him playing during the buys is going to be really useful. So one that you actually could trade out just because of his break even and price. But if doing so really hurts your buys, maybe one that you look to hold for a couple more weeks, even if he leaks a little bit of cash. Anything else to add, boys?
Well, I think if you're trading Dacos, you'd go to someone in the same buy if you want that player. Otherwise, you just wait for Doc or Sinclair.
Yeah, okay. Like if you bring in like a Crisp or someone like that.
Shut up.
Do it, Anno. Join us.
No. Because if it goes... Look at this. I get Crips, 280s. Yeah.
Crips...
Pissed off. I'll get Crisp,
I don't want to...
He'll drop 270s and I'll be saying the same thing.
No, Crisp is different. Crisp is not...
No, it's not. Because he
turns up.
I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it.
All
right. Yeah, I think that's a fair call. Fair call. All right. And then the last thing is people are going to be looking at some rookies to trade in this week. There's a slaver here, so let's quickly run through them. So Cleary looks to be the number one option this week, just based on his break even and scoring over the last 2 weeks. So a 61 week, 175 last week, has a negative 67 break even coming into West Coast Eagles. I think the big concern on Cleary here is job security. So he's come into the side with Dre out, and there's some other defender whose name
Hunter, who's would be playing wing, and Bailey Williams plays back. So it's hard to know with Hunter though.
Yeah, well, he's meant to be coming in after the bye, right? So Probably safe until then. So, like I guess if he gets named this week and holds Dre out, or like Dre gets named and Cleary holds his spot, then probably all steam ahead. But if not, then that is a little bit of a worry there. Next up, we've got Saligo. George, do you want to talk about Jake Saligo? Because he had a pretty poor start to the year. I think he was sub a couple of times, and he's come back and he's been a gun the last 2 weeks, along with what your boy Haley.
I'm still waiting for that apology for Haley, all the slander over the past few years.
Wait, by the way, you got to apologize. You said, I regret him ever being my profile picture on Discord. You said something to
Did I say that?
Yes. You said, I can't believe he was a PFP.
Stop. I didn't know he had groin issues last year.
Oh, I didn't know he had groin. Give me a break.
Okay.
Come on.
So I think Saligo got a rude haircut and now he's good. So basically, we're playing him really low time on ground early in the season. Preseason looked all right. Been tearing it up in the SNFL. First 2 games, I think it might have been sub. I can't remember. But yeah, really low time on ground. Comes back, he's Sam Walsh level running. He's running 15 Ks a game and height time on ground, I think in the 80s. So mostly wing, I think. So I think he's a fine option. He's a bit more expensive. He has to keep up this form, obviously, but I'd be pretty shocked if he's dropped. So I think he's like a reasonable option, and he looks like someone that's going to should give you like 60s, but you never know. Rookies are volatile. So again, middle buy is pretty bad. I'd take him over Cooper Stevens. Cooper Stevens would be easily be the best rookie if his coach wasn't Christopher Scott. But otherwise, I don't mind Saligo as an option. I don't know. It's a bit more expensive, and middle buys like with Clark and McComb, and then like the Dogs players and Toog. It's kind of hard to fit him in. So, but yeah, if you wanted to bring him in and it suits you, I'd go for it.
Yeah, if you're the unicorn coach that actually needs more players in the middle buy, then Saligo seems to be the one that'll score a fair bit during the buys. You'd imagine best scoring of the lot of them. Stevens, you mentioned already, of the Cooper variety. So if he's the one that comes in as a danger replacement this week, is it someone that you recommend for people?
I don't know how many of these rookies we really need to speak about, really.
Yeah.
He's a good rookie that you can
middle buy ones we can really skip. Like, yeah, he would be, but we can't have another. We got Clark, we got McComb. Like,
all right. There's so 2 rookies and there's 2 rookies that are playing in the other buys that we'll touch on quickly. So first is Sammy Butler. He's got the last buy, the coveted last buy where I would desperately love rookies. Mid forward, 117K, so at a good price. But he's a small forward that's kind of played over McDonald the last couple of weeks with McDonald resting. 18 week 1, pretty poor, and then a 49 last week, even though he kicked 2 goals. Could you bring in Sam Butler? Surely not, right? Even if he plays the next 2 weeks, we're going to get 20s or 30s out of him.
Scoring job security seems a little shaky for my liking. I don't see myself bringing him in.
Yeah. Do you expect your man Connor McDonald to come straight back in, mate? It would be pretty funny if Sam Butler
King Connor McDonald
2 weeks.
No, he won't. Connor is coming back, and he's gonna give me 75 in the buys.
All right. That would be unjust, but okay. And then the other one, he's got the first buy. So Jesse Motlop, 117K. We've already talked about his job security potentially being a little bit shaky with Jack Martin coming back, but looked really good this week despite just scoring the 40 in Supercoach, and I think he had 34 in week 1. He's the only other option, but I mean, it's a little bit like Butler. Job security, scoring potential, both seem low. Probably just, and he's a small forward. They're both small forward, so it's really hard to downgrade to either of these guys, right?
I liked his game. First half, he was balling, playing good, and then the second half, didn't see much of it, but nor did any of the Carlton players, to be honest. Sydney were just coming at him pretty hard. So I don't know if he holds or not because they got Jack Martin coming in. There might be a shuffle with like Carroll or Motlop. Not sure who goes out. I would take Motlop over Butler. But yeah, I'm not really in the market for another forward rookie who's a forward. A lot of the forward rookies have like just been bad this year, but small forward first year player.
Yep. And then just like the only other thing to consider as well, there was exactly one debutant of a rookie price this week, which was Jacob Ware, who scored a 51 and looked pretty good for GWS. So if he holds his spot, he's going to be an option, but probably after his bye, not someone you'd actually get this week.
Yep.
Yep.
It looks good.
But yeah, it's looking slim picking. So I probably wouldn't anticipate to be trading rookies too much over the next week, unless we get some really good debutants this week that you might be able to go early on. All right. I think we are at the portion of the video. We'll jump into some Q&A. So I'm going to hand over to you, Enno, if you're ready to go. Otherwise, I'm just going to fill time by talking slowly about random topics.
We ticked over the hour. We're never going to get under an hour for the rest of the year. I don't see that happening. But if you're still around here for the Q&A, I'll scroll through all the lovely people in the Discord. Well, I say lovely, but we'll see what they've typed for me.
Which Discord's questions are you reading, Enno? Can't be ours.
First from Gil, and I've got a prop here.
Gil, great.
This man...
Hey, Shrek or Gone?
Because it's going to absolutely suffocate me. But Shrek vs Gone, if you were targeting, I guess, your ruck trade in, who would it be?
Donkey. No, I would go.
Is that Gone? Is
it? Pretty much at this rate. Gone's got a bounce, but he was good. If I had cover, probably Darcy quite easily.
Yep.
JD?
Yep. I'm looking at going Priest to Darcy probably during that first bye. Like the crazy thing is, in his last 3 games, 134, 51, 178, and the 51 was against the best ruck in the competition, which he doesn't face again. So
123 rounder, mate. That's fine.
Yeah, so
you only need
still
the points. You don't matter when they come.
He's still 121 3-round average, despite dropping to 51. The only other like good ruck tandem, really, he's playing this week in the Ds. He's got them once more towards the end. But yeah, after this week, 164 break even, Darcy's going to bottom out. I think I'll be targeting Darcy over Gawn just because of the Gawn knee strapping.
Yep.
Don't do that.
There's
It's fine.
another question pretty much similar. Is Bruce to Darcy worth the trade? Like, we've got to see what Bruce looks like
Next week.
after his
Next
illness.
week.
So,
Yeah.
Don't do it this week. Do it next week.
Should be fine. Yeah.
Then Bruce's break even from memory is still like 46 or something. So Darcy's going to lose money basically no matter what, unless he goes 170 again. And Bruce is going to make money pretty much no matter what. So like obviously the Supercoach gods will now curse that and it won't play out, but you should be able to do that trade for a lot better value next week.
Maybe Bruce shares with Flynn going forward because every time Flynn gets a chance, he does really well.
he's good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
It is annoying we didn't get that extra rise out of Prusy, but anyway.
Could have different philosophy with the new coach as well that actually enables that.
Best mid-primo to trade in. Say, give me one.
Laird,
there's
I don't
no...
know.
Yeah.
Laird's too expensive. I like Samuel.
Just value or points? Because I mean, I like Oliver.
Still Oliver. Still Oliver.
Actually, I'll say Petrarca.
Yeah, Petrarca's
you
good
don't have
value
him.
at 585. Bailey Smith's good value at 552, but he's obviously going to become a forward.
Haitley.
Yeah. Haitley, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think we've talked about a lot of the players we like Neil, Oliver, Mills, Laird, McRae, Petrarca, I don't mind Parrish. I still don't mind Brayshaw. He's good value at 554. Took's okay, even though he's been up and down. Kelly could be an option off his bye.
No.
I think that's he could be. I mean,
No.
Kelly's best is a 120 player.
Yeah,
so,
no.
Okay.
For me,
If G-Dub
4 times, not another one.
All right. Well, I'm just saying, if you're thinking outside the box, George. Yep. Okay.
One from our man Klopp, who said, "Is Aaron Hall an option if named this week?"
So
on
from
the
what
one
we've
hand,
seen, he
he's done
won't
2
be named
hammies in
this
6
week.
months. Worst injury record of the defenders, Klopp says, which is probably true. But he has a big ceiling, and if you only need him for just a bit over 2 months, would you consider it?
Okay.
Considering
So
last year you didn't go below 110 for the back half.
Yeah. So for me, no. He's still 1 to 2 weeks away according to the injury list, which they can be off. His break even's 133, so I wouldn't be going on him this week anyway. I'd wait to see him get through a game, see how he looks, see what the role is, and then make a decision. If it's your last upgrade, I don't mind taking the risk there over some of these other options just because of the scoring upside. George will say never
Say
again.
absolutely never again. So let's move on.
To hell with Hall.
Oi, he was good for us last year. Is it okay not to upgrade this week or the next and have 2 rookies on field till after the first bye?
But if you can't do anything, then yeah. I mean, I can't. I actually in that similar boat. I think I have 1 rookie. I have Greg Clark. That's it. So
yeah,
I'd say Greg Clark and McCartan. Sorry. So yeah, I'm not doing anything.
I've just got McCartan on the field, so I'd say it depends on who the rookie is. Like rookies, I'd still be comfortable in fielding and Whitfield. Rookies, I'd be comfortable in fielding like Dacos, like probably Clark, and then McCartan are probably like the 3. Even like Nick Martin's probably roughly a 4th. If you're fielding anyone else, I'd probably be looking to still try and move them off the field this week.
Yeah,
get Nick Martin off if you can.
Yep.
Yeah. DeConning's still okay, even though we'll see if he can keep that up.
He's prone to a bad game though.
Yeah,
like we've just seen he's got the low floor. Like he could be okay, but it's someone you'd rather loop than just straight field.
Something we're maybe looking at is it worth sidewaysing Thompson to where in round 13? I still don't know how to say it, but to avoid a donut. So say you had 17, he was playing. Would you sideways that for what is it? Not even 20k downgrade.
Yep, if you got the trades.
Is a trade worth the 50, 60 points?
Well, I am in this boat and I can't because I don't have the trades. So no. I don't know if you have more than 16 trades. Yes. If you don't, no.
Okay.
Maybe even like 15 trades. I don't know. Just like figure out how many trades you're going to finish up with. If it's like more than 4 that you have left, then it should be all right.
I'd ideally not do that as long as I could field enough players. So yeah, because I'd rather have the trade to sideways a primo later on in the year than sideways a rookie, which isn't going to net me any points. So yeah, it's just a matter of like, can I field 18 without sidewaysing Thompson? That'll be the deciding factor.
Cool. Another sort of strategy one. Where do you need to be to still challenge for a top 1,000 in Supercoach? I mean, I don't think we're going to claim to know the answer, but what do you boys think? Do you think from where we sit, maybe more? I think George is probably a decent chance at his current rank, but me and JD, or say you're sitting 15k to 20k, can you still get inside the top 1k, you think?
Still a lot of work to do for me. I think I'm 400 outside, like almost exactly spot on. I'm at 6.9k and like 400 points almost exactly. So what's that? 12, 13 weeks left. Make up 40 points a week. That's 400 points. No, I can't do maths.
So it's a little bit less.
2, 3, 2, 4, 5
50
is
points.
The overall. So I'm like,
it is
50 behind.
I think you could do it from 15k. I definitely think you could. You have a good buy rounds, good team. You know, a lot of teams that are at the top right now, they have Tom Green, picks like that. Brayshaw is probably not a top 8 as well. So I think you can make a little bit of ground on there. So, and also if you can get access to Bont and Baz. I can't. I get 1, but yeah.
Yep. They also all have wits.
Yeah.
They've all got Sicily and Brody, and they're going to drop away from me.
Yeah, well, that's what the gate holds you back. But yeah, for us, they all have wits.
So I think the short answer is like probably even as far back as I am, 650 points. Like you can. It's 65 points a week from here to the end of the year, right? So you know your captains. You have slightly better primos in place. Like I'm going to have Bont and Bailey Smith. Hopefully, others only have 1. Maybe if I've got Wits and Darcy and I don't have Gorn, that's a difference. And so I have to hope Gorn fails. And then if like Sicily, Brody regress, like there's definitely a path where like I could get to top 1,000 or thereabouts, but it's unlikely. Like it's really hard from here. I feel like I've been trading good throughout the year for the most part, but my starting team was so bad, just that it's like really hard. It's possible though. You have to have 1, you have to take some calculated risks, and 2, a lot of things have to go right with other teams like having problems for you to get there.
Yep.
I think for someone like George, he can probably be a little bit more conservative and still make it.
Yep. I'm going to group these next 2 guys into the same similar question because there is quite a lot of them. First one, JD's not going to like, and probably myself, but is it too late for Brody at 520k?
Yes. And
then Darcy Cameron is the next guy. So,
yes.
Too late. I mean, Brody's very expensive. Not very, but you know, he's near enough where he's the same as almost Baz and that, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think the big thing with these two guys is they share the last bye. They're pretty much the only forward options that are good enough to warrant in being in your team because of that with that last bye. So, yeah, I know you just hate that I said that.
Yeah, because I've got one of them that isn't going to be good for that. Yeah, anyway. So they've both been amazingly successful picks. I think Will Brodie's probably the pick of the year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just
Wits
so
is-
good. Sure,
It's
let's
Brodie,
have
George.
this.
I know you're
Let's
trolling.
have this discussion another
Yes.
time. But yep. Well, I was looking at the stats today. It's something like 98 of the top 100 teams have Will Brodie. It's like ridiculous. 97% of the top 1,000 have Will Brodie.
Who the
Like,
hell
if you don't,
doesn't?
if you don't
Those two
have
guys,
him,
I actually want to.
I started him and traded him out.
yeah,
Traded him back in.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the same with
Yeah.
Gorn, right? Like, anyway. So
I flamed you.
so-
I didn't flame you, but I didn't like that at the time. But he's made another 170k.
I was
well,
walking to the MCG when I did that trade. It's so stupid. Anyway.
Yeah. So like, I just think
the one
that,
back in.
so they're both amazingly successful trades, but honestly,
yeah.
at Brodie's price doesn't present value, and at Cameron's price, if Cox is back in the next week or two, he doesn't present value anyway. I think Cameron, you'd want to trade out the last buy for a dog's bid, and then Brodie you either hold as a F6 or like potentially swap him. But like, you'd imagine both Bond and Bailey Smith are going to put 10 to 15 points on him from here to the rest of the year, and they're 30 and 50k more expensive. So yeah, like, couldn't endorse picking up either of those. It's just not value anymore.
People ask me every week, is it too late for Brodie? And I say yes, yes, yes. And it's like, when do I stop saying yes? Because what's he priced at? Around 100, and he's averaging 105. So you can make a case that he is slightly underpriced. I just think it's time to
He's still
just
got
go
5
with...
to come back, and Freo's fixture gets harder from here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So like Melbourne and Brisbane the next two.
Yeah, I just go for Bont and Baz. I know buys are a thing, but just, I don't know, find a way, get Bont and Baz.
Yep. We'll hold off for a couple more. Just going here, seeing what's been asked before. But if not bringing in Brayshaw this week, is it worth bringing him before his buy or after? I mean, I think
Still
it's a pretty good price, but you want it. Yeah, that's what's good about him is the last buy. So you probably want him before, I'd say, George, if you wanted him.
Yeah, we
That's
can't
probably the
bring
better
him during
question.
the buys. You got to bring
Do
him
you
in this
want him?
week.
Do you still want him? That's probably the better
Not
question.
really. I keep saying contest doesn't win enough contested ball, which is weird because Mills doesn't, but Mills is just a pig. So I don't know.
So,
probably,
like,
I don't think he's top 8, so no. Or
Spray's
top 10.
139 break even coming into Melbourne. He's going to lose more money this week anyway. So yeah, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't wait. But yeah, you should be coming out of the last buy with a finished team. So I wouldn't be trading him in after that point. Like, you still be trading him in, but maybe next week when he's a little bit cheaper, or the week after.
Cool. And I'll go one last one. Everything's pretty much been answered already in the pod or not, but Mo Salah, JD, wants this to you, mate. He said, please answer this specifically, JD. Who would you prioritize as an essential upgrade, Stewart or Mills? Either way, he wants both in the next fortnight. I mean, you got to have a lot of money to be getting those guys, don't you?
Well, I mean, Mo Salah is big contracted player over there in England, isn't he? So
yeah, golden boot winner. So
he's probably got a little bit of money to hang on to a splash about. So I would prioritize. Oh, this is tough because Mills has got Richmond this week, which has been traditionally like a pretty good matchup. Where Stewart has Adelaide this week, and that's also like a really nice matchup. Stewart's break even's probably a little bit worse. And then has the Dogs the week after. So I don't know. I think I'd probably sleep more comfortably having Mills of the two of them. I also I guess with captain, vice captain, which we'll go into a second, Mills is probably like a decent VC option this week where we're probably struggling a little bit for VC options.
Yep. And one's to play early. Yep.
Yeah,
George will never say Stewart. I didn't need to ask you, mate.
Yeah.
I'll throw back to you, JD. That's pretty much everything's been either already answered during the pod or was asked again. So,
thanks everyone for your questions. Like, very fun and good to do as always. Like, makes us talk about some different things. So I love those. All right, to close out, we will go through captain, vice captain for the week. George, who have you got the V on? Who have you got the C on? What are you weighing up?
Don't copy me is all I'll say. Probably go VC Neil into Oliver because I think they're the top 2 mids this year. So surely one of them can do good. And then like the Dogs, I don't think Dunkley's captain option is too much forward, although he can go big. Then McRae's like, is he going to score 130 this week, or is it somebody else? So I'll go Neil VC into.
McRae was 137 in both his games against West Coast last year, I believe.
Yeah, the issue is all the guys are available right now. So I do get the skepticism with George about the C on him, because you could cop the guy that gets the lowest mid-time of the week. But yeah, I'm going VC Clary into McRae or even Baslenka. See what I decide. But I don't think I envisage getting past Clary again against Freo. They've been pretty average at the moment. So I see the merit in Neil, but I don't know. I think they go to him again. They love going to him, don't they?
Yeah, so I'm putting the VC on Neil. This week I got burnt by like jumping off Oliver's 99 as a captain. I missed out on the 178, where like if I didn't know that he'd scored 90 on the week before, I would have done that. And I think it's probably the same with Neil. Back him as a vice captain option in the hopes that they don't tag him and he can go large. And then for the captain option, I'm putting on someone that is averaging 131 over the last 5 rounds. He's gone over 134 of the 5 last games. And his other score was 113, and he's playing a number 6 ruck this week in Kaziski. So I believe there's going to be no Reeves, no Lynch, no McAvoy.
All right,
Witt's captain is I think where I'm going to run this week.
It's going to go massive, isn't he? We
There's
can't make ground.
What's the hit to advantage record? I worry for that.
Oh boy!
Yeah. All right. Well, closing thoughts then, Eno?
Oh, it's going to be so hard to do everything in my power not to get Marcus this week.
Gotta get Marcus.
George is going to tell me a million times, but I just
George of all people. Wait, so by the way, so last week, all week, George was like, no, trade Cogs.
No.
And then he didn't trade Cogs.
No.
And then this week he's going to be no Marcus. Then you're going to look at his team after lockout and Marcus will be in there.
He didn't only say he was trading Cogs. After he didn't, and Cogs was on 90, he was going, you were never trading Cogs. Look.
Yeah, so obvious. The biggest troll.
He had him dead to rights on Sunday. He was gone.
I do that every week. I trade out my worst performing player. I traded out Butters. I traded out Brody, although I did go through with that, unfortunately. Traded Gorn. I trade out my worst players. I can't help it. But that's the thing. I have time to think about it. New coach, all that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, George, your closing thought for the week.
Go Cogs. Always believed.
Always believed.
And Haley.
Disrespect.
Okay, I want to shout out Adama and Hump for trading in Haley. Finishing their midfield off. Good
That's
goal.
actually big balls. So well done.
There was people that jumped on Sicily this week, which like I didn't have the guts to do. So like props to them for doing that. That's like
I'll thank you, George, too, mate, for convincing me on DC. I didn't really want to go there, but that's probably saved me, really. So I'll give you that, mate.
That's all right. Mason Cox, don't worry about him.
Yeah, we'll take
get out of the way, mate.
Yeah,
we'll take it.
Go home.
Yeah. And then shout out to George because I think Lipinski's got a 6-point average lead over Rao for the year so far. So after a slow start, he's definitely taken the edge there. So yeah, we haven't given updates on that one for a while, but with Rao's stinker this week, who by the way is on that must trade list. Yeah, props to George for never relenting on his boy Lipinski, but believing in him the whole time. Oh wait, you traded him out too, didn't you?
He scored under 80. What do you want?
Yeah.
Get out.
What's going on? He gets 30 and he can't stun.
He's been getting
30 touches a game
in the wet
now.
than I expected.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining in for another sub 1 hour podcast. We've enjoyed your company, your questions. We'll see you in the Discord and wishing everyone a good week ahead.